Monsanto and equal money. It is recommended that you watch the documentary Dying in Abundance, which is about the effect of Monsanto and the nature of Monsanto's effect in India, especially in the farm trade, farm community, where 200,000 people has already died due to suicide because of debt since the introduction of the Monsanto scenario, which caused the production cost of food to rise with up to 70% of the total crop yield, where Monsanto ended up with both the seed and the poison, where the seed do not work, so they can manage multi-dimensions of money creation, and the farmer is left completely powerless and helpless. Obviously, what will solve the problem and bring an end to Monsanto in a bloodless coup where nobody gets hurt? Equal money. What will change, in fact, the world in a bloodless coup where nobody gets hurt and everybody ends up in a position that's best for all? Equal money. So investigate the causes, the cumulative effect of the various actions that corporations and governments take. And remember, governments are extensions of corporations in our society today, that they take in managing and controlling the flow of money. The current revolution, for instance, in the Arab states, are both a problem and obviously an opportunity in disguise. The corporations didn't quite expect the opportunity, but they're managing it quite well, which means that at the end of the day, these countries will sell their resources for food because they will be driven to the brink of extinction due to starvation. And eventually, an agreement will be made, which will be secret, as to what will happen to the resources of these countries, and for that the people will get food. But a different view will be presented to the world, one that will look like the people involved in the revolution as one, when it's not in fact the truth. To be able to see through the deception, you have to learn how to utilize the equality equation, the cumulative effect of outcomes, of relationships, of how things will work together, how the food land in the stomach of the people, where it comes from, who pays for it, who plants it. You take a country like Libya, for instance, 90% of its food is imported. Very little is produced locally, and that which is produced locally was produced by labor that was imported, not even by the Libyans. Then you must ask yourself, what does the Libyans know about anything? Did Gaddafi deliberately disempower them over time by making them feel like they are more, and yet they are subject to Gaddafi? And then they ended up in a position where even their food production in their own country was subject to imported labor, and 90% of the food were subject to other countries' food production. And the total economy, that means all the money was based on oil. Obviously, Libya being the biggest oil producer in Africa, 8th biggest in the world, I think. So a lot of things has got to play out and clarify themselves so that one can see the total effect of the current economic system, how it is in fact being driven by simple resource that has accumulated itself in singular corporations that make the decision and that will only comply to control. That means they'll only give in where they have guaranteed control of resource. Yet that would be secret because they don't want everybody to know. And this is the nature of the legal fraternity of this world, where virtually all things legal, all agreements, is done in secret. It's also the nature of agreements between people. They tend to not want to share the nature of their agreements because there are things in it they don't want anyone to know. Instead of having an open, effective, simple relationship agreement. Unfortunately, that is not how it works. Therefore, people live in little boxes on little hillsides, pretending that all is fine, going to the same schools, eating the same boxed food, drinking the same pasteurized milk, everything the same, having the same desires, the same backchat, the same thoughts that keep on talking, seeking happiness, pursuing some form of future, hoping beyond hope that there is some divine force that actually really care, in spite of all the evidence that no God has ever meddled in any person's life whatsoever, in any way whatsoever, and that everything the person is by their own direct design, and that they could have done it differently and they know it, and yet didn't do it. That is the fascinating thing, and that the only reason why the human race has not destroyed itself is because each human has designed the most amazing thing: forgetfulness. Have a look. If you start looking back, you have virtually forgotten everything about your past, and only the nice little stories or the sad little stories, that means the his stories that somebody will listen to, they are the only things you remember, so that you can keep on telling them. And that becomes your definition that repeats itself over and over and over again. And anything that is glaringly out of place, that you do not want the world to know, that you do not want anyone to see, is forgotten. We have found that most things are forgotten within 6 months, which is fascinating. You can go and test it yourself. So, equal money and Monsanto. When you do self-forgiveness, you'll find an interesting thing. When we have to stop this and bring in equal money, very quickly the past will be forgotten and we will be into heaven on earth. So there is call it a positive side effect to our willingness to forget. And therefore, no matter what harm has come to everyone, forgive and forget has its place when the time comes. Further on Monsanto, in an equal money system, will there be any purpose for Monsanto? But it's clearly at this stage visible if one watches the series Dying in Abundance and you hear what the farmers are reporting in terms of their interaction with the land over a long period of time. You'll see that Monsanto simply will have no point or purpose, because at this stage they've only proven that genetic engineering or modification can only be effective in the relationship to money, And then when something is focused on money to enhance production for that purpose, one tends to be dishonest in other ways, causing much harm to the basic genome, the basic code, in terms of the relationship between the nature design and the human design. So the current data indicates that Monsanto will be without purpose or reason. Obviously, more research will have to be done once an ecosystem is in place to consider if there is in fact any point to rewriting some of the genetic code. And even, obviously, because it's possible for the plant, it's also possible for the human. In rewriting our own genetic code, who will we become? What is possible? Is it a way to go? Because currently, due to no specific management of genetic code and bringing together what is best for all, we have unfortunately created a mix-up in the code that is extensive as far as the human experience is showing itself, and we will have to investigate it even further.